senator from Indiana, member of the Senate Banking Committee, and a neighbor of mine. Sometimes we just hang out at Starbucks and talk. Senator Evan Bayh, he has an official announcement to make on Morning Joe, and it's an exclusive, and we're excited. Go ahead, Senator. The floor is yours.
Well, Joe, after considering all the possible media outlets in which to make this announcement, we decided Morning Joe was by far and away the optimal vehicle to get this word out to the American people.
I love
there
it.
are about 15 of us in the United States Senate. Moderate Democrats, for lack of a better description, have been gathering, and we've finally decided to make an announcement that we're coalescing in a group to try and focus on making the changes the American people need, but to make sure that they're done in a practical way that will actually work. We're not ideologues, we're pragmatists, we're not strident partisans. We care about our country more than our party, and so we want to get things done. And Joe, with all due respect to your former body, I think it's the Senate where we have to look this year, because as you know, on most things you got to get the 60 votes in the Senate, and that's going to be hard, and it's going to take the centrists to get us there. And so we want to help make the changes we need, and that's what our group is all about.
Senator, this is, and I didn't know you were going to announce this. This is very exciting to me, and it's exciting because being in Washington, I learned very quickly that it was always moderates in the Senate, be they Republicans or Democrats, that kept the ship of state steady. In 93 and 94, the House and the President were more liberal than most of America. The Senate balanced it out. In 95 and 96, when I came in, the House was more conservative than the rest of America. It was, again, moderates in the Senate that balanced it out. I heard the budget chairman, Kent Conrad, the other day voice the concerns that I hear all the time, which is, yes, we're in trouble. We need to revive this economy, but let's not bankrupt America. This is great. Can you tell us who else is in the group?
Well, there are about 12 of us on the press release, and then there are 3 or 4 others that we're putting in the witness protection program who are attending meetings but don't want to be publicly identified yet. You know, it's some of the people you would expect. Matter of fact, Kent Conrad was our first presenter yesterday on the upcoming budget, and it looks like we're going to have some very difficult choices to make on the budget. But people like Ben Nelson, Tom Carper, Blanche Lincoln, some of those folks who really care about what works, what will actually deliver results for the American people, regardless of what label you have to put on it. And one other good piece of news, I called Rahm Emanuel the day of our first meeting to let him know. His first response was, I'd like to attend the announcement. So I think we have an ally in the White House who's going to try and help us strike the right balance.
Yeah, he was measuring you out for political body bags. Expect the dead fish on your desk tomorrow.
Well, Pat, I haven't received a mackerel at my house yet, Joe, so maybe they'll deliver it to yours by mistake.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a dead well on my front lawn. Let's go to both Lawrence and Pat. Describe the significance of having 15 Democrats who were telling Nancy Pelosi and the more left-wing elements of the Democratic Party, hold on a second.
Well, basically, having worked in the Senate myself, what I understand Senator Bayh to be announcing this morning is, in effect, there is a new committee in the Senate. Call it what you will. Do you have a name yet, Senator Bayh, for this group?
You know, Lawrence, we had 4 potential names yesterday, and I didn't want the meeting to bog down into a choice about names, so we have not selected a name yet. Call us the Practical Caucus or what have you. We have not selected a formal name.
The Morning Joe group.
But this is
there you go. That'll work.
If this is a cohesive group on what the issues I expect they will be interested in, which is the tax elements in the budget, the cap and trade issues for the environment, health care reform, this is the group that will control the outcome politically on what can pass on the Senate floor. Now, the Finance Committee is still going to have jurisdiction over most of the things that this group is going to care about. But Max Baucus is now going to have to deal with this, in effect, shadow committee that's out there controlling the outcome of how you get the 60 votes in the Senate.
Pat Buchanan, this group will now, I remember during the stimulus package you said those 3 Republican senators were now going to have a big impact. Now these 15 Democratic senators are going to have an extraordinary impact moving forward if they're cohesive.
If they're cohesive, they can veto anything that comes down. These 10. Senator Bayh, though, you're going to need those at least 2 out of 3 for some bills of those 2 senators from Maine and Senator Arlen Specter. Do you have any Republicans who are associating themselves with your effort? Because it seems to me even though you folks have a complete veto, I mean, if you walk away from something, it is dead.
Right.
But don't you need a couple of Republicans in there with you to be like the Gang of 14, which basically was decisive on those judges?
Pat, that's an excellent point. There are pre-existing bipartisan groups, one led by Lamar Alexander and Joe Lieberman, that meet weekly to discuss issues across the aisle. We wanted to start within the Democratic Party, Pat, because the majority is now so large. I mean, depending on the outcome in Minnesota, possibly as large as 59. We felt it was first important to coalesce within our own group and then reach out to those you've mentioned and possibly a couple of others, depending on the issue, to get to the 60 to 61 votes. And, you know, Lawrence served in the Finance Committee. He knows these things very well. Our strong preference would be to work with our committee leaders, to work with leadership, to make sure that our concerns are taken into account in the bills that are formed in the committees before they get to the floor so that it can be a cooperative relationship. We would much prefer that. The difficulty comes when things are just handed down without taking into account the point of view of some of us who have a slightly different point of view. So it should be a cooperative relationship going forward. Occasionally some creative tension, but that's the way the legislative process works.
Senator Bayh, I hear that when you get to the office this morning, you're going to find that Harry Reid has moved your suite out to the parking lot. Good luck doing business in the parking lot.
Actually, Lawrence, you know, I've talked to the leader from time to time, and, you know, when there are differences of opinion, that's never easy. But we would much rather work together, and you know what? You know, he would like to strike a pragmatic balance, too. He knows that if you just swing way too far to the other side, that can in the long run create both substantive and political problems. So in some ways, we can be his best friend and the president's best friend.
And let me tell you, Lawrence, Harry Reid has to know that the same thing that happened to Tom Daschle in 2006, was it? 2004. It's going to happen to him in 2010 if he is more associated with Nancy Pelosi than Evan Bayh. When he goes back to Nevada, the liberalism that he's been practicing with Nancy Pelosi over the past year, it's going to kill him politically.
If this works well, Evan Bayh can be Harry Reid's best friend.
Evan Bayh is Harry Reid's best friend right now if he wants to get reelected in Nevada.
Harry Reid's in more trouble in Nevada right now electorally than Daschle was in South Dakota at this time.
Yeah.
Senator Bayh, big news. Thanks for breaking it here on Morning Show.
Senator, seriously, that's great news. That really, I think that is great news. I would say for conservatives of all parties, when I say conservatives of all parties, I'm talking common sense Americans who don't mind spending money to fix this economy, but just want us to finally have leaders who are prudent. Thanks for taking the lead.
Senator, thanks very much.
Thank you.